Evidence. I'm an engineer. Why don't you believe me? Are you religious or something? Doesn't matter the person's credentials, you should always ask for the evidence. So, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, a million, a billion, a trillion times the pen falls. Suppose I say, truly, believe me, pens could fly, based on my authority. Should you? No, because you didn't what? You didn't see the evidence. Your conclusions should be based upon observations, not upon your ideas. I've talked to many, many evolutionists. I believe they have an idea and a conclusion lacking evidence. Suppose I were to tell you that you have ape-like ancestors. What should you politely ask for? Evidence. I never asked for the evidence. I saw cartoon drawings in 9th grade, and that's what caused me to believe it. Here's evidence that you are not related to an ape. You've got apes in a cage at a zoo. You pay $55 to look at the ape. Nothing on earth gets a half-price discount because they're dragging their knuckles and they're a close relative, right? You are either in the cage or paying the $55. If the theory of evolution is true, why is there not one living animal alive today to support it? You're either 100% ape or 100% human. Evolutionists believe birds have lizard-like reptiles. Now, I've seen 1 million birds in my life, and so have you. I've seen hundreds of lizards. I've never seen a blizzard. Have you? Think of the details. The details are avoided by evolutionists. For a lizard to become a bird, those front legs have to become what? Wings. I'm not the greatest design engineer. My boss is here. He'll attest to that. But I cannot even comprehend how a leg could become a wing. But supposedly, by chance, it did. Can you imagine the details? For millions of years, you've got an animal with a leg becoming a wing. It can't run. It can't fly. It can't catch food. It can't get away from anything. The scales are becoming feathers. The solid bones are becoming hollow. Where are these animals? I believe they're only in imagination. They're not in living evidence or the fossil record. And so the conclusion should be based upon the evidence, not what you want it to be. Okay? So, important science question for tonight. How did the universe originate? This is a good question of science. The first law of thermodynamics states matter and energy is neither created nor destroyed. The universe is full of energy, full of matter. How did it originate? This law of science, I'll translate it for you, says it did not poof here from nothing by natural means. Matter and energy does not poof from nothing. It's a very important question, and I think a devastating question to an atheist worldview. Now, the universe is not eternal because of the second law of thermodynamics, so we've got a finite universe that did not have a natural beginning. I feel the best explanation is a supernatural beginning. And that's a law of science. Science question number 2. How did life originate? Very, very important question of science. There's another law of science called the law of biogenesis that states life only comes from life. Another law of science. I've never met most of you before. Let me guess, your parents were human. Your dog came from living dogs. The fleas on your dog came from living fleas. This is confirmed every single day, trillions of times, by observational science. How did it begin? Well, it didn't begin by natural means, so that falsifies that. The best explanation would be supernatural. Translation, this law of science clearly tells us life does not arise by natural processes. Okay. What do the biology books teach? Well, first they got a beautiful line on the cover, an exact quote from a current biology book, life arose from non-living matter on the early earth. Now, is that a scientific statement? It is not, because it's not supported by, right, it's a hypothesis, but they state it like it's a fact, and that's what I heard in 9th grade. The cell theory, universally accepted, all cells come from pre-existing cells. The atheist worldview is somehow matter and energy mixed together and made the first living cell. And they would say it's contradicted, except for that first cell. The cell theory is true. The difference between creation and evolution, it's important to learn what people believe that disagree with you. Now, this is the evolutionary tree of life. All of this stuff is alive today. This is a timeline. I'd like to touch on some details on this. Let's learn the details on the history of the gorilla. You go back in the history of the gorilla, and there's a zebra line that joins with it. They're teaching you that zebras and gorillas share a common ancestor. Is this animal alive today? Is there one fossil to support that? That's not supported by observation. Evolutionists believe gorillas and mushrooms share a common ancestor, and it's right there. No laughing, this is science, everybody. Is that organism alive today? No, it's not supported by observational evidence. If you're an evolutionist, you believe gorillas and pine trees share a common ancestor. And if you're an evolutionist, you believe all life has single-cell bacterial ancestors. So, very important point. If you think the theory of evolution is true, you think you have what? Bacterial ancestors. Forget about the apes. You think you have bacterial ancestors. If you think that creation is true, you think bacteria can only make what? Bacteria. And people come from... Now, which one of these two beliefs is supported by observational science? The creation belief. Every birth on the planet supports creation. What's this? Bacteria on the sharp end of a needle. Now, if you're an evolutionist, you think these are your relatives. And I'm not saying that flippantly. That could be Grandpa Joe. That could be Aunt Emily. And 100 of your relatives could sunbathe on the sharp end of a needle. Do you really believe that? Or do you want to believe that? I think it takes much more faith to believe that is your relative than to believe that was designed as bacteria, it came from bacteria, and will only make bacteria. If you are an evolutionist and wash your hands with antibacterial soap, you're killing your family. You should feel guilty about that. Let's look at some important math. Evolution math, bacteria plus mutations plus time equals what? I thought big, blue whales. That's a lot of mutating, okay? Creation believes bacteria plus mutation plus time equals what? Mutated bacteria. I've met a lot of evolutionists and they say, well, bacteria gets mutated. This is what I say. It is still bacteria. It's mutated bacteria. It doesn't get lungs, arms, legs, brains, stomach, spleens, kidneys. It's nothing but mutated bacteria. Okay? Mutations are a fact of life. How would you answer this question? Do you believe in evolution? This is an important point. Would you say yes? No? Or what do you mean when you say evolution? This is vital for people to know. Because the word evolution means different things to different people. The word evolution means change. Do you believe in change? Yeah, within limits, a lot of things can change, right? People are changing, they're getting taller, right? They're still people. You could have 20 kids. I love my kids, but you'd be crazy to have 20. They could be taller, shorter, smarter, dumber, better looking, less good looking, faster runners, slower runners. But they're all what? People. Variation is a fact. You can call it microevolution. Yeah, there's a lot of variety of people, a lot of variety of dogs. But people make what? People, and dogs make dogs. Natural selection is also vital for everyone to understand. Suppose you owned two dogs, a furry dog and a hairless dog. You take them to Alaska in the summertime. You come home and your family member says, "Where's the dogs?" "Oh, I forgot the dogs." So these dogs are stuck in the wild of Alaska. They fall in love, get married, and make puppies. What are they going to make? A mixture. Some could be furry, some could be hairless. Winter comes. What's going to happen? Well, the hairless dogs, you're going to say mucho frio, because they're chihuahuas. Then they die. They can't reproduce. The furry dogs can live. They reproduce. What do they make? Mostly furry dogs, but the phenotype, fancy word for physical trait, of a hairless dog could show up. But when the winter comes, adios for him. The only type of dog in Alaska would be furry. If you dumped your dogs in a hot desert, the only type that might survive is what? A hairless dog. My daughter told me the other day, she said, "Dad, now I see why there's Mexican hairless dogs, but there's no Alaskan hairless dogs." And I thank her for her input on that. Science tells us, this isn't complicated, dogs. You can breed them like crazy. The Germans went nuts in the 1800s with dog breeds. They are all still what? dogs, is natural